I could ask you what the film is about, but you don't really like to tell people what your films are about. Can I ask you instead what other theories you have heard? What have other people propounded to you about Mulholland Drive?
Many things.
Let's hear a few of them then.
No.
Spoiler alert! This is an explanation of the David Lynch masterpiece Mulholland Drive. If you haven't seen it, you probably should. It's on pretty much everybody's best movies of all time list, including mine. But more importantly, it's a mystery thriller detective story. And those are never any fun when you know how they end. But even more importantly than that, Mulholland Drive is a David Lynch film, which means that the concept of mystery is taken to the extreme, to the point where he doesn't even give us a concrete explanation for what's going on in the film. Rather, he invites each of us to look at the clues and then come to our own conclusions about the mystery, thus imbuing his work with meanings and interpretations far beyond his original intentions. When you talk about things, unless you're a poet, a big thing becomes smaller. And also, it's so limiting to say what something is. It becomes nothing more than that. And I like things that can be more than that.
I mean, his theory is that we don't all have to have the same understanding. Different things appeal to different people at different times. And it's not all logical and making perfect sense. But if it's real and true, it links up and you can connect.
If you watch an explanation video before you watch the film, and maybe even after, you could be ruining your chance to engage with the mystery as David Lynch intended. I think people know what Mulholland Drive is to them, but they don't trust it. They want to have someone else tell them. I love people analyzing it, but they don't need me to help them out. That's the beautiful thing, to figure things out as a detective. Telling them robs them of the joy of thinking it through and feeling it through and coming to a conclusion.
Okay. Detective Jason thinks it's a ghost story. Is it a ghost story?
This explanation may remove your ability to see the film in your own way. Feel the mystery for yourself first, and then come back when you're ready.
This here represents the surface of life.
The generally accepted classic understanding of Mulholland Drive goes something like this. A young woman named Diane Selwyn wins a jitterbug contest, which inspires her to move to Hollywood to become an actress. Once there, she begins a relationship with fellow actress Camilla Rhodes, who gets Diane some parts in some movies. But Camilla becomes more successful than Diane, dumps her for director Adam Kesher, and then invites her to a party to rub their engagement in her face. Or so Diane interprets. For revenge, Diane hires a hitman to kill Camilla. Then Diane spends 3 weeks in her apartment hiding from the authorities. Then she goes to sleep and has a wish fulfillment dream about her experiences thus far in Hollywood. She dreams her wish that the hitman was actually incompetent, so he wasn't able to do the job anyway. And even if he was, the job was hopefully interrupted by a car accident, which would leave Camilla wandering around with amnesia. And she would just happen to stumble into Diane's rich aunt's fabulous Hollywood apartment, where she would meet Diane and be totally dependent on her in Diane's own exciting and romantic little Nancy Drew detective story, which is set in the glitz and glamour of her naive, idealized vision of Hollywood. Of course, Diane's acting was always incredible and undeniable, so the only reason she wasn't able to get any lead roles is because the studio system is one big conspiracy that controls all the films, pushes directors around, and decides who succeeds and who doesn't. Or so Diane would like to believe. And by the way, Adam Kesher can't satisfy his partners anyway, so why would Camilla ever be interested in him? Except dreams do eventually have to come to an end, and the end of Diane's dream is a bunch of weird stuff about a blue-haired woman in a lip-syncing club saying Silencio, and a hobo that probably represents Diane's guilt holding a blue box that's opened with a blue key. And hey, I know what that blue key is. That's the thing that's causing Diane to feel so much guilt, because it indicates that the hitman whacked Camilla. And then a creepy cowboy wakes her up, and her ex-girlfriend is banging down the door, and she daydreams about Camilla coming back to her, and then she can't take the guilt anymore, and the old people that said she was good at jitterbugging come back to haunt her, and she kills herself.
Silencio.
And that's all of it. That's what almost everyone agrees are the events of the film. And that's a perfectly fine reading if that's as far as you want to take it. If you're happy with that, you can stop watching now. But don't you think it's a little too straightforward for a David Lynch film? I mean, there are still a few things we can feel our way through. The cowboy character, the scene at Club Silencio, the blue box. We can speculate on what these things mean as much as we want, but they don't change how we view the story in any drastic way. And outside of these little bits of obscurity, it doesn't look so interpretation heavy for a film made by someone who is so interpretation focused. And why all these questions about what's going on? Why would the DVD release contain an insert with David Lynch's 10 clues to unlocking this thriller? There must be something deeper happening that can explain things better than the words dream logic can, because seeing everything as just a dream and anything strange as just dream logic is about as effective an understanding as saying, well, that was weird, I guess it's just Lynch being Lynch.
Cinema can go deep or it can go shallow. I think the great films tell a story, a surface story, but the great cinema goes deep into the psyche, and these undercurrents are caught on deeper levels.
To understand the film better, we need to break ourselves from the idea that what we're seeing is just a dream. As I cover much more thoroughly in my Twin Peaks explainer, we shouldn't take anything literally in a David Lynch film, but instead think of everything in terms of abstract concepts, and then observe how those concepts are represented literally in his work. For example, straight from the man himself, Bob from Twin Peaks is not a person, but instead an abstraction with a human form. That's not a new thing, but it's what Bob was. It would then be up to us to figure out what abstract concept Lynch was communicating with Bob. I think I made a pretty good case in the Twin Peaks video for why the dream sequences in that show are representative of a bigger idea. So yes, the main character of Mulholland Drive could be dreaming the whole film, but a dream can mean more than one thing. Lynch feels that films can be dreams, that the audience is entering a dream world as we watch.
If the picture's giant and the sound is beautiful and the people are quiet and they get into this world, it's very, very delicate how you get into that world. It's so delicate, but if you get into that world, it can be like a dream.
A dream can also be a collection of ideas about a place or a concept that creates a world for us to project our imaginations into, like a daydream.
I always say my greatest inspiration is the city of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I would imagine the sounds of factories and factory life and factory people, and it just started a Philadelphia dream. It started a Philadelphia dream and a world that I fell in love with.
Mulholland Drive is both of these concepts combined. A film dream that allows us to explore a particular dream world, like Lynch's Philadelphia dream. There are jokes about how in LA everyone is writing a script and everyone has got a resume and a photo. Everyone is willing to go for broke and take a chance. It's a modern town in that way. It's like you want to go to Las Vegas and turn that $1 into $1 million. Sunset Boulevard says so much about that Hollywood dream thing to me. Diane Selwyn says that winning a Jitterbug contest was what started her dream of an acting career.
I won this Jitterbug contest. That sort of led to acting. You know, wanting to act.
At the beginning, we see Diane win the Jitterbug contest, and then from a first-person perspective, we see Diane enter a metaphorical sleep to begin the metaphorical Hollywood dream that was started by winning the contest. Lynch uses the film dream of Diane's literal dream to symbolically communicate the abstract concept of that Hollywood dream thing. This is what's depicted for most of the movie. Not Diane's dreamt-up misremembering of what happened to her, but rather Diane's actual experience as seen through the lens of the collective, aspirational Hollywood dream. The hopeful imaginings any one of us might have about moving to Hollywood to become a movie star.
I mean, I just came here from Deep River, Ontario, and now I'm in this dream place.
While we're exploring this dream world, keep in mind that we're not going to be talking about Rita just yet, because we need to fully understand the dream before we can talk about how it goes wrong.
I had a dream about this place.
What would we know about Hollywood? Chances are, it's not like any of us watching the film has ever actually been a young aspiring actress who moved to Hollywood to make our dreams come true. Everything we think we know about Hollywood, what it looks like, what life is like there, how the movie industry works, has been unconsciously absorbed through watching movies, or TV shows, or reading celebrity lifestyle stories. The famous Hollywood sign, sunny Los Angeles, the palm tree-lined streets of Beverly Hills, movie studio backlots and sound stages, glamorous actresses riding in limousines on their way to Hollywood parties. All we've ever seen is as much a construction of Hollywood as the films it produces. So in our naive imaginations, Hollywood and the movie industry look just like they do in the movies.
Just like in the movies, okay?
And since the Hollywood dream we imagine comes from the movies, and since Diane is a surrogate for anyone who has a dream of making it big in Hollywood, her Hollywood dream looks as much like the movies as it can get. When her dream begins and she arrives at LAX, the movie magic of it all is cranked to the max. A warm color palette matches what we might expect of a bright future in sunny Los Angeles. The soft filter gives us that classic dreamy look, and the soundtrack and cheesy dialogue dubbing are laid over cheesy acting.
Remember, I'll be watching for you on the big screen.
Okay, Irene. Won't that be the day?
All giving the scene that charming moviness that only the language of cinema can communicate.
It's the film, the language of cinema.
The Hollywood dream is just movie magic? Always has been. It's a movie of the movie that is our Hollywood dream about the movies. It's just movie dreams all the way down. And since the Hollywood dream portion of the movie is like a movie inside the movie, the characters in the movie play other characters in the movie within the movie. So Diane, who is the character standing in for we in the audience who have ideas about Hollywood, plays a character called Betty, who is the idealized Hollywood dream version of herself in the dream that is a movie within the movie. And the same might go for any other character in the Hollywood dream. For now, we can presume that every character has a real-world identity outside of the movie within the movie.
Come on, it'll be just like in the movies. We'll pretend to be someone else.
Now, this is a David Lynch movie, so a big part of that Hollywood dream thing is going to be informed by what he thinks the Hollywood dream looks like. What does it look like to him? It looks like one of his favorite films, a classic from the golden age of cinema, Sunset Boulevard.
Joe Gillis, a promising young writer from Dayton, Ohio. And Betty, that nice kid I met at a Hollywood party.
I love Hollywood and the whole thing of the golden age, and Sunset Boulevard captured that so well. I just love that world. I love it. I love it when William Holden and Nancy Olson go for a walk on the studio backlot at night. That's probably never quite happened in exactly that way, but it should have. It should be going on right this minute. It's just too beautiful, every part of it. And so, Sunset Boulevard's signature shows up all over this Hollywood dream. There's a shot of the real-life Sunset Boulevard within the first 10 minutes. And Betty has her big audition at Paramount Studios, where Norma Desmond goes for her big comeback in Sunset Boulevard. There's a shot in Mulholland Drive of a street sign that says Sunset Boulevard. I would have loved to put a small piece of the original music in there. And there is a shot of the Paramount gates, but Paramount won't let you show their logo anymore. You can only show the bit of the gate below it. It's one of their rules, and I think it's a really stupid rule. But the car that you see in that shot in Mulholland Drive is the actual Sunset Boulevard car. I think it was found in Vegas.
It's that car of hers, an old Isotta Fraschini. Her chauffeur drove it in on the lot the other day. It looks just right for the Crosby picture.
With this imagery of the Hollywood dream in mind, let's walk through the way a Hollywood dream plays out in our daydreams before we ever get there. It starts when we develop an aspiration of making it big in Hollywood. We think we'll get a bunch of money together and move to Los Angeles.
When my aunt died, anyway, she left me some money.
When we get there, where are we going to stay? And in come the thoughts about where movie stars stay in Hollywood. Mansions, apartments, hotels. This might bring to mind an image of the famous apartment building turned hotel, Chateau Marmont, a historical and cultural Hollywood landmark that is the subject of many a Hollywood legend. Maybe we'll get to stay there with all the famous people.
Where to?
1612 Havenhurst.
Betty's aunt's apartment building is at 1612 Havenhurst. There is a Havenhurst Drive in Hollywood, but there is no 1612. The highest address is in the 1400s. So 1612 would put Aunt Ruth's place north of where Havenhurst ends at Sunset Boulevard. And where is the Chateau Marmont located? On the north corner of Havenhurst and Sunset. Just to clarify, am I saying that Diane definitely thinks she's staying at the Chateau? No, but with all the other Sunset Boulevard references in this film, the fact that Havenhurst meets Sunset at the Chateau is too good a detail to ignore. When Betty arrives at her aunt's apartment building, it's as if she's walking through the Paramount gates and right onto the set of Sunset Boulevard. The building resembles the kind of old Hollywood mansion in which Norma Desmond lives in that film. Jack Fisk, longtime friend of David Lynch and production designer for the film, says that the interior of the apartment was built to have an old Hollywood look.
You know, it was inspired by the old apartment buildings in Hollywood. Some of them are spectacular with the fireplaces, the carved wood, you know, on the doors. We had a lot of woods in there, books, things that would have been fascinating to a young actress coming into Hollywood.
Lynch loves the Hollywood Golden Age, so the apartment building is run and populated by real-life Golden Age actors, such as Ann Miller and Lee Grant.
There's nothing better than, hearing about kind of the history of film through her eyes.
This is the great David Lynch, producer, director, writer, and I'm thrilled to be working with him.
And there was some other eccentric Hollywood type who once had a pet kangaroo.
You know, there was a man that lived here once that had a prize-fighting kangaroo.
Which brings to mind the pet chimp that Norma Desmond was burying at the beginning of Sunset Boulevard. Once we're settled into our glamorous Golden Age Hollywood living situation, how are we going to get into the pictures? We all know how the story goes. We get headshots to hand out, we're writing a screenplay, and we wait tables while we wait to get discovered. This is my suggestion for why the waitress at Winky's is shown with both the names Betty and Diane. Not to show us the origin of the name Betty in Diane's mixed-up dream, but to relate both names and a pretty short-haired blonde like Diane with waiting tables. She did so in both the dream and reality.
Well, I couldn't afford a place like this in a million years. Unless, of course, I'm discovered and become a movie star.
And getting discovered is no problem, really. I mean, we can get ourselves an audition within 24 hours of landing in LA, just like Betty here. That's what happens in our wildest dreams, anyway. What does an audition look like? By now, we've had years of DVD special features and YouTube clips to show us that the audition process is an actor sitting in front of a camcorder in an empty office space with the casting agent's dishwater assistant reading them the other guy's lines.
I mean, I've prepared auditions where I've had to prepare characters and sketches and things, and the casting person will be typing the entire time.
I've had somebody read emails as I was auditioning for them.
I'd spent 10 years of auditioning in Los Angeles where lucky if you get to meet the director, and if you do, it's a 5-minute meeting. You might not get a bit of eye contact or a handshake or anything.
But in 2001, when this movie was released, we might have imagined it more like a room full of the production's most important parties, and how lovely and welcoming they all are. The producer and his assistant, the director and his assistant, another actor in the production to act with. If this did happen, it wouldn't be on audition number 1. But here, there's a random important casting agent and her assistant that aren't even involved, but just sitting in for love of the process. And because as part of our fantasy, we're already planning to have them discover our incredible talent and take us straight to the top. Because of course, we're all Marlon Brando in our heads. I mean, we're God's gift to the film industry, and wait till they get a load of this performance. They've never seen anything like it.
Oh, I thank you, Betty. I mean, it was extraordinary.
One thing that never happens when you audition for anything is that you talk to the director afterwards and he tells you about the audition, how it went.
Right. You don't get to hear any feedback
never hear
normally.
Anything.
And then the auditions for the really big movies, they've got the whole production crew involved. Costumes, makeup, cameras, like they're shooting the movie already. You know, just like never happens in real life. They're going to rent a soundstage, build sets, and pay a full cast and crew for auditions? Only in our wildest dreams, where we walk into that room, the director gets one good look at us and he says, "This is the look I was looking for. This is the one." And it's a Hollywood dream come true. Where's the cement for me to put my handprints into? I better start practicing signing my autograph. But hold on. If we answer the third of David Lynch's 10 clues for unlocking this thriller, we find that things didn't work out this way for Betty. Can you hear the title of the film that Adam Kesher is auditioning actresses for? Is it mentioned again?
Sylvia North Story, Camilla Rhodes, take 1.
Well, how did you meet Camilla?
On the Sylvia North Story.
Well, Camilla was great in that.
The real director for the Sylvia North Story was not Adam Kesher. It was this other director, the one sitting in on Betty's Flawless Dream audition. Bob Booker, according to the credits, and Brooker, according to everyone in the film.
Bob Brooker, our director.
The director,
Bob Brooker?
He didn't think so much of me.
So in Betty's Hollywood dream, her failed audition with Bob Booker was not for the film that he was supposed to have been directing. And that makes sense because we're in complete denial about our acting skill. We're such good actors in our dreams that if they don't pick us for the lead role, they either weren't paying attention.
Bob? Very good. Really?
Or it's because we didn't even audition for that big role we would have been perfect for, or we would have gotten it. No, we auditioned with a clueless director who doesn't know talent from toilet tissue for a smaller film that we didn't want anyway because it was doomed to fail.
He'll never get that picture made.
No.
Wally's days were up 20 years ago.
We could have gotten that bigger part, but we had something much more important to be doing that day.
I have to be somewhere. I promised a friend. I'm sorry. I must go now.
And let's just keep piling on the excuses. Even if we had auditioned for the big role, it was already taken before we got there.
This is the girl. Excellent choice.
And now a little bit of cognitive dissonance starts to creep into our Hollywood dream. We can get discovered and ace the audition, and a star is born. But you may have also heard the phrase, stars aren't born, they're made. We all know you don't audition for the lead part in the big Hollywood blockbusters. These things have already been decided. It's a big Hollywood conspiracy working behind the scenes. It would have to be for them not to choose us. It's kind of like the mafia, right? If you manage to get yourself chosen for a high-level position in the mafia, you're what could be called a made man, perhaps, if you understand what I'm telling you with my particular phraseology. The mafia can make you a made man, and the Castigliani brothers with their enforcer goons can make you a made star. And if you're anything like Adam Kesher, there ain't nothing you can do about it.
It's no longer your film.
This is what we think from the outside. The producers that are part of the Hollywood Mafia studio system make the decisions and get what they want. And if they don't get what they want, then you don't get the money to make your film. And that's probably true. Now, if you're a true artist like David Lynch, you either get final cut on your film and maintain your artistic integrity and vision, or you tell the studio system to take a hike.
Whoever these people are that are giving you the right to make this or funding it, they have to trust the filmmaker to, make the film the way he or she wants it made. And if you don't have final cut, what you're saying is, this isn't my film. I will never be guaranteed that I can hold my head up high and say this is my work, because somebody's going to come in and fiddle with it.
It's no longer your film.
And if you're thinking about making money, that's another whole thing. Then it doesn't matter if you don't have final cut. You're going to get your money, and if that's the only thing you're interested in, then I wouldn't want to even talk to them.
So a director who lets himself get pushed around like Adam Kesher, who puts his money before his art, is not going to get any sympathy from David Lynch. But as outsiders, we might think all directors are eccentric artists like Lynch, and if they don't get what they want, it's not because they don't care, it's because they didn't even get the chance to say no to the studio mafia.
2 guys from your bank came by.
How'd they know I was here?
I'm afraid they said to tell you that you're maxed out at your bank and that your line of credit has been canceled.
This is a suggestion Adam can't refuse. And we know he cares because he has to take his anger out on something. You attack my money, I'll attack your money.
That's my jewelry!
He's getting cucked with his film and his career just like he's getting cucked with his wife. Because none of these relationships between Hollywood types ever work out, right? There's another part of the dream we get to look forward to. But in our Hollywood conspiracy theory, how do these people make their decisions about which actors or films succeed and which fail? If someone says, this is the girl, why is that the girl? Well, our thought process doesn't really get that far. Hollywood people are all idiosyncratic and just plain weird, and there's no way to know why they make any of the decisions that they do. As far as we're concerned, they're unknowable and unpleasable, they have their secret reasons, and everyone else is just along for the ride.
I think you're going to enjoy your espresso this time. I've done quite a bit of research, knowing how hard you are to please.
The Castigliani brothers apparently work for Mr. Roque, who appears to represent the idea of the Hollywood conspiracy. The Hollywood conspiracy is a bigger idea than a producer's personal preferences. But there's an idea that's even bigger than the conspiracy. Mr. Roque works for the cowboy.
When you see the girl that was shown to you earlier today, you will say, this is the girl.
It's not a recommendation. This is the girl.
Who is the cowboy that he can decide who succeeds and who fails? Well, there is a third idea about Hollywood success looming over our movie star dreams. It's more powerful than either getting through on pure talent or a cabal of creepy weirdos picking favorites. That third idea is that nobody decides. It's all based on luck, like Lynch was talking about with his Las Vegas analogy. Everyone is willing to go for broke and take a chance. Hollywood is a modern town in that way. It's like you want to go to Las Vegas and turn that $1 into $1 million. This particular girl, Diane, sees things she wants, but she just can't get them. It's all there, the party, but she's not invited. And it gets to her. You could call it fate. If it doesn't smile on you, there's nothing you can do. You can have the greatest talent and the greatest ideas, but if that door doesn't open, you're fresh out of luck. It takes so many ingredients and the door opening to finally make it. It doesn't matter how talented you are, and it doesn't matter what the studio execs want. Ultimately, it's not under anyone's control. Capital F fate will decide who the next big star is. And in the film, fate is an abstraction with a human form.
The rest of the cast can stay. That's up to you. But that lead girl is not up to you.
Adam's assistant tells him that to meet the cowboy, he has to go up to a corral at the top of Beechwood Canyon.
You'll have to go to the top of Beechwood Canyon, and there's a corral up there where he'll be.
In the real-life Beechwood Canyon, there's a road called North Beechwood Drive that ends near the top of the canyon at a place called the Sunset Ranch. At the very top of Beechwood Canyon sits the Hollywood sign.
Oh, you've got to be kidding me.
The cowboy is played by David Lynch's producer friend, Monty Montgomery, who is wearing the real-life clothing of Tom Mix, an actor from the silent film era who was considered to be the very first Western star.
Monty brought his own wardrobe. That's Tom Mix's clothes. They're worth a fortune. It's like an incredible wardrobe he had.
So up near the Hollywood sign, the very face of the Hollywood dream, is this guy wearing the real clothing of the first Western movie star from the birth of motion pictures, who decides which actors get to be stars, and you have no choice but to go along with him.
So let's just say I'm driving this buggy, and if you fix your attitude, you can ride along with me.
We must conclude that the cowboy is the human form of the abstract concept of Hollywood fate. The cowboy is the Hollywood dream. And North Beechwood Drive isn't the only road that leads to the cowboy.
Well, it's a road that is locked sort of back in time, and a lot of it is anyway. It's kind of all by itself on the crest of the mountains, and there's many places where you can overlook, either the valley or Los Angeles, Hollywood down below. And it's very dark there at night, and it's curving, and it just gives you a feeling. It's a kind of a dream road.
Mulholland Drive is kind of a dream road, and it's actually just a smaller section of the Mulholland Scenic Corridor, which starts with the Mulholland Highway stretching from the Pacific Coast Highway near Malibu up to where it becomes Mulholland Drive passing through the Hollywood Hills. Then it turns into a hiking trail before turning back into the Mulholland Highway, which leads up to a landmark called the Last House on Mulholland, which sits directly under the Hollywood sign.
It's a kind of a dream road.
So Mulholland Drive isn't just a spooky road. Lynch is using it as a metaphor for an actor's ascension to Hollywood's success. Mulholland Drive is a dark, twisting dream road that leads to the cowboy. It was just those words, Mulholland Drive. When you say some words, pictures form. And in this case, what formed was what you see at the beginning of the film. A sign at night, headlights on the sign, and a trip up a road. David Lynch clue number 1. Pay particular attention in the beginning of the film. At least 2 clues are revealed before the credits. Diane gets the inspiration for Hollywood success, that's the first clue. This begins the dream that represents the Hollywood dream, that's the second. And these lead to the credits rolling on, the beginning of the dream. We are actors in our limousines on the Mulholland Highway climbing to the top of Hollywood. But you might be thinking, the actress on the dream road to success at the beginning of the film isn't Diane, it's Camilla. Betty represents Diane in her Hollywood dream. And that's true. But I have seen quite a few people on the internet suggest that the Camilla in Diane's dream might actually be a part of Diane herself. And that seems to be supported by several key parts of the movie. Both Diane's and Camilla's limousine journeys up Mulholland are stopped, and both with the same dialogue.
What are you doing? We don't stop here.
These could be 2 different depictions of the exact same event. At the end of the dream, after Camilla and Betty discover the body in Diane's apartment, there's this crazy doubling effect, maybe to suggest something like a split personality. Then Camilla changes her hair to resemble Betty's, and they go to Club Silencio, where Betty receives some kind of revelation that makes her shake in her seat like something intense is happening to her. And when they arrive back at home, Betty disappears without a trace, leaving Camilla to briefly take the lead role in the dream with her Betty-style haircut.
Betty?
Perhaps Diane has ceased to be Betty and become Camilla. And what we're dealing with here really is 2 actresses playing some aspect of the same person.
Well, there's many characters. All are dealing with somewhat of a question of identity.
If this were all just a dream about Diane's personal issues with her girlfriend's murder, it would be anybody's guess what psychological process is unfolding when Betty turns into Camilla. But all this time, we've been looking at everything in terms of the collective Hollywood dream. So it wouldn't be unreasonable to suggest that Diane's transformation into Camilla could be representative of some piece of that Hollywood dream that could be generalized for all of us, would it? If so, whatever that piece is, it carries the key that opens the box and wakes Diane up to the reality of Hollywood.
This is the girl.
I don't think you can set out by saying, I'm going to make a movie about this town. The ideas for Mulholland Drive just happened to present themselves, and they were about a slice of this town, and that's the best you can do. There's no way anyone can say everything. It's always a slice, but that slice can have harmonics that feel pretty good. However beautiful the Hollywood dream may appear to be, there is a dark truth lurking behind it that is felt long before it is realized. The dog mess stinking up the chateau's courtyard, the closed-door meetings and backroom conspiracies, the body rotting in the apartment, the evil waiting in back of the diner. The longer we try to make our dreams come true, the closer we get to seeing the truth that puts an end to our dream.
Los Angeles, through David's eyes, is often sunny, as we know, but behind that sunny facade, a lot of dark things go on. I think that's sort of, a recurring theme in David's work is sort of the facade versus what's really happening. So I think that the sunny part of LA he enjoys because it doesn't give anything away.
Diane's Hollywood dream comes to an end just as her identity merges with Camilla's. Or could it be that her dream is ended by this merging of identities? Like becoming Camilla signifies Diane's realization of that dark truth. If this is the case, what truth about the Hollywood dream would Camilla represent? The answer to this question is also the answer to David Lynch clue number 8. Did talent alone help Camilla? The question itself implies that the answer is no, and it is shown to us in the latter part of the film that at least according to Diane, Camilla may have slept her way to the top.
It's him, isn't it?
And once there, she brought Diane along with her.
She helped me getting some parts in some of her films.
Diane's limo ride up the dream road illustrates these events. In the Hollywood dream, success is symbolized by the Hollywood sign at the top of the Mulholland Highway. In what we'll refer to as reality for now, success is symbolized by the Hollywood party at the top of Mulholland that overlooks the Hollywood Hills. This particular girl, Diane, sees things she wants, but she just can't get them. It's all there, the party, but she's not invited, and it gets to her. Diane's journey to the party is stopped before she reaches the top, just like her journey to stardom was stopped when she lost the lead in the Sylvia North story to Camilla.
I wanted the lead so bad.
What are you doing?
Camilla got the part.
We don't stop here.
So how does she make it to the party? Here comes Camilla to show her another way.
Shortcut.
A shortcut. A secret path that leads to success in Hollywood.
It's beautiful. A secret path.
Diane is being introduced to the casting couch. For anyone not familiar, the casting couch is a euphemistic term for the situation when a casting agent, producer, or director offers a part in a film in exchange for sexual favors. It gets its name from the couch in a casting agent's office, where, presumably, said favors would take place. But I don't think Camilla is just showing Diane this supposed shortcut to the top. I think she is the shortcut. Camilla is another abstraction with a human form, and that abstraction is a combination of the casting couch itself and an actress who has sought success via the casting couch. How can we know this is true? Diane sees the evidence when she gets to the party.
Well, how did you meet Camilla?
On the Sylvia North story.
If Camilla represents the casting couch, then Diane is saying here that the movie she was auditioning for was the first time she saw the casting couch working for another actress, the blonde girl that Luigi Castigliani chose to be the lead.
This is the girl.
We may have already suspected that the reason Luigi chose the blonde Camilla for the role was because she slept with him. I think this scene proves it. As if in response to Diane's statement that this is where she first saw the casting couch, Camilla exclaims in Spanish, "I never went to Casablanca with Luigi."
Yo nunca fui a Casablanca con Luigi.
One guess what it might mean to go to Casablanca with Luigi. The men at the table respond in Spanish with a hearty, "Yeah, right."
Qué lástima. ¿Qué va?
After this exchange, we get to see what Diane witnessed on the Sylvia North story. She locks eyes with Luigi. Diane sees the truth, and the truth stares back at her. The blonde kisses Camilla and then looks at Diane with her lips stained with Camilla's lipstick to symbolize her sexual exchange on the casting couch with Luigi and the stain it left on her reputation. Diane sees the truth, and the truth stares back at her. And this takes the blonde straight to the top of Hollywood. And there's the cowboy. It's a Hollywood success story. Camilla Rhodes is the casting couch, and this blonde lead's name is Camilla Rhodes in Diane's Hollywood Dream because the blonde lead became a Camilla Rhodes when she became a casting couch actress, and she's playing the role of one in Diane's Hollywood Dream. And now we have what we need to make sense of every last detail in the film, knowing that the brunette woman we know as Camilla Rhodes is not a person and never was. We get the complete idea at the beginning. David Lynch clue number 4. An accident is a terrible event. Notice the location of the accident. Diane's shortcut up Mulholland is in the same location as Camilla's accident on Mulholland. Lynch equates the decision to use the casting couch with a car accident caused by a joyride on the road to stardom. Camilla comes out of it broken, abused, and confused. She's left an innocent part of herself behind in the wreckage.
The boys found this on the floor in back of the caddy. Any of those dead kids wearing pearl earrings?
Nonetheless, this accident on the couch has allowed her to make it into Hollywood. In the dream, Golden Age Hollywood doesn't know anything about the casting couch, so as old Hollywood leaves to make room for the new, the problem sneaks in and is left hiding in the shadows.
I don't know who I am.
Camilla has amnesia. She lacks an identity because this is a problem that nobody wants to identify. If they put a name to it, they have to face it so it stays hidden. When we get there to live out our Hollywood dreams, we stumble upon the problem, but in our naivety, we don't see it as a pervasive issue. We think this is a friend of the Golden Age.
Do you work with my aunt?
So Camilla names herself after Rita Hayworth.
My name's Rita.
Rita Hayworth is a Golden Age actress who's famous for marrying and having affairs with like 7 or 8 Hollywood stars and producers. So maybe this isn't a problem, it's just an option. We could get there with talent, or if we happen to fall in love with a famous director like Rita Hayworth did multiple times, they can put us in the movies and we can succeed that way. Or maybe it doesn't need to be about love if we're willing to enter into a quid pro quo situation like Adam Kesher's assistant. Cynthia knows how the game is played and offers her own couch to the director in hopes that she might get a role in the future.
You could stay at my place if you wanted.
Cynthia, no, I don't think that'd be a good idea.
Okay, but you don't know what you're missing.
But even for us dreamers, there's room for doubt. The Golden Age actresses see Betty messing with this problem and try to warn her.
I thought you knew my aunt and that's why you were here. I just talked to my aunt on the phone and she wants me to call the police.
Someone is in trouble. Something bad is happening.
Louise Bonner said there's trouble in there. Get rid of it.
You see, we know better now. Shortly after film producer Harvey Weinstein was outed as a serial sexual abuser who took advantage of actresses on the casting couch, many big-name Hollywood personalities stepped forward in response to talk about the couch being an open secret that had been kept pretty much since the beginning of the film industry. It's not until Diane wakes up to the reality of Hollywood that she learns that the Golden Age had been complicit. This Golden Age actress gives Camilla a knowing look when Diane tells her how the blonde Camilla got the lead in Bob Brooker's production.
Camilla got the part.
And when Diane tells Coco that the couch got her some small parts in a few movies,
She helped me getting some parts in some of her films.
I see.
Coco pats her hand to express her condolences. Old Hollywood knew this was going on, and the problem wouldn't be stopping anytime soon either. Hollywood is married to it. Hollywood dream directors are good-hearted artists, but Diane is learning that in reality, this isn't always the case. Maybe it was about love for Rita Hayworth, or maybe that was a series of marriages for mutual gain, and maybe that still goes on. But Harvey Weinstein showed that most of the time, it's predatory. At some point in Diane's acting career, she witnessed this firsthand. In this scene, we're basically watching a director teaching another guy how to take advantage of a young actress's desperation.
And the two of you are alone, and it's real comfortable. Now, when she starts to cry, don't pull her towards you. Let her fall into you. Now, when you kiss her, it's just a continuation of that move.
Diane sees the truth, and the truth stares back at her.
Kill the lights!
So this is a serious problem that hopeful young actresses should watch out for. But if we want to be callous, it's a lucrative problem to have. Like ever-optimistic Betty, we might be tempted not to say anything because of the fame and fortune it leads to. This is where Lynch draws the comparison between the casting couch and prostitution. Immediately after the money is found in Camilla's purse, Lynch cuts to Joe here asking a prostitute if she's seen Camilla on the street.
Any new girls on the street lately? A brunette? Maybe a little beat up?
No.
David Lynch clue number 2. Notice appearances of the red lampshade. When Mr. Roque calls around to find Camilla, a prostitute for the film industry, the call eventually makes it to a phone next to the red lampshade. In the dream, the ring from this phone welcomes Diane to Hollywood. But in reality, the ring from this phone is Camilla calling Diane up the dream road to the shortcut to the party. These are two depictions of the same event. The phone calls Diane to Hollywood success. Prostitutes work in red light districts, and the red lampshade, casting its red light, equates Diane to Hollywood's newest call girl. But for now, Betty doesn't think about the bad connotations of the couch and just considers it an option. Betty and Camilla agree to keep it a secret and bury the problem in a hat box. Under our hats, deep in the bottoms of our collective dreaming minds. At least until she finds out that she can't make it through auditions without it. The audition we see in the film could be Diane's first, but it's much more likely the last one she went for before trying the couch. Remember that this film she's auditioning for was the first time she saw the couch working for the blonde Camilla. So the actor she's auditioning with is a creepy older guy named Woody, who takes advantage of a young blonde girl that's being forced into an intimate encounter that she can't push out of for risk of being judged poorly by her potential employers. You can see the discomfort on her face. And the very scene they're playing is also reflective of the casting couch situation. You're still here. I came back. I thought that's what you wanted. Nobody wants you here. Nobody likes the casting couch, or at least the actresses don't. The guy is doubtful because the problem continues, and from his point of view, everyone seems to be benefiting. Really? The actress threatens to call the authorities several times. My parents are right upstairs. They think you've left. If I tell them what happened, they'll arrest you and put you in jail. Get out before I call my dad. This will be the end of everything. At the time the film was made, nobody knew if Hollywood would be ruined if the secret got out. I can call them. I can call my dad, but you won't. And now things get complicated because Betty starts to get into it, and then we have to face another side of the problem. You're playing a dangerous game here. If you're trying to blackmail me, it's not going to work. The way he's blackmailing her is revealed a few lines later. What about you? What'll your dad think about you? The actresses who end up on the casting couch fear speaking out about the problem because people may see them as complicit. Maybe they'd say things like, she could have walked away, she chose to do this, she's just as guilty as he is. Being judged in the court of public opinion has always been the biggest threat against speaking out. Stop it. That's what you said from the beginning. And so these actresses are stuck in a state of self-loathing that unfortunately perpetuates the problem. I hate you. I hate us both. So after this failed audition, Diane sees who got the lead and how she got it.
This is the girl.
This is when she decides to try the casting couch for herself.
I have to be somewhere. I promised a friend. I'm sorry. I must go now.
From this point until the opening of the blue box, the whole 28-minute stretch is a transition period between who Diane was when she got to Hollywood and who Diane became after the couch. Her dream is about to die, and she's about to wake up to reality. First, she guards herself against both inner and outer judgment about her decision, represented by her avoidance of authority figures who could be her conscience, or police cracking down on corruption, or public opinion, or any other figure that might be thought of as a judge. She sees her own dead body in her apartment. She knows on some level that her decision will be the death of her naive dream. But we don't recognize the body because she hasn't yet accepted and identified with her future self. Notice how Betty doesn't react as strongly as Camilla does. The part of Diane that is Betty is too naive to understand the danger, but the part of Diane that is Camilla does. Then there's the split personality shot, and they change Camilla's hair to match Betty's. The transition is becoming more real. And then, just like at the party where a kiss symbolized the blonde Camilla on the casting couch, Betty makes love with Camilla, which symbolizes Diane on the casting couch.
I'm in love with you.
David Lynch talks constantly about not only loving ideas, but being in love with ideas.
You need to get an idea that you fall in love with. And I get some ideas I fall in love with. I love to try to catch ideas and catch an idea that I fall in love with. And when you catch one, it's such a thrill that you instantly fall in love and you know what you're going to do. And I fall in love with them because I get excited at what cinema could do to those ideas.
Right. Does 3D tempt you at all?
If I got an idea that said, this is screaming for 3D.
And you'd be willing?
Yeah. If it came and it wanted to be 3D, you bet, if I was in love.
I think you get the point. Camilla is an idea that Diane thinks she's in love with, the idea that the casting couch can take her to the top. Diane is so in love with the idea of becoming a movie star that this is how far she will go to make that dream come true.
I'm in love with you.
It's at this point that Diane ceases to be Betty and becomes a Camilla Rhodes. She becomes a casting couch actress, and she sees the truth. She's now dreaming with her eyes open.
Silencio. Rita. No hay banda. Rita, wake up.
David Lynch clue number 7. What is felt, realized, and gathered at the Club Silencio? The performance Betty and Camilla witness at Club Silencio is a depiction of Diane's new understanding of the dark truth about the Hollywood dream. The dream is a facade, movie magic, a trick that Hollywood plays on us, and that we play on ourselves. The magician shows us how the trick is done.
There is no band, and yet we hear a band. This is all a tape recording. It is an illusion.
Lynch uses the recorded music in this stage play to symbolize the magic of cinema that created and fed into the Hollywood dream. But behind this magic is a reality.
It's all recorded.
The people creating the films, the people creating this illusion, are silent. And we know what they're silent about. Rebecca Del Rio, introduced as the Weeping Woman of Los Angeles by the guy who runs the seedy, sleazy downtown hotel where we might find a prostitute or two, emerges looking broken, dressed almost pretty much kinda sorta prostitute-esque maybe, and sings a song called Crying by Roy Orbison about a love that is lost. She's singing about losing that lovely Hollywood dream that was killed by the casting couch and her innocence with it. In my Twin Peaks explanation video, I made the case that David Lynch uses a blue rose to symbolize mystery, the unrevealed, secrecy.
A blue rose? Good, but I can't tell you about that.
In Mulholland Drive, we see the same imagery. The silence and secrecy about the casting couch are on full display in this production, and they take the concentrated form of the blue rose. The microphone that sold Miss Del Rio's live singing illusion. The blue-haired woman with the floral haircut that oppressively presides over the magic makers. We see the truth, and the truth stares back at us. Blue is the color of secrecy, and movie magic is the smokescreen that conceals the truth.
Our world is a magical smokescreen.
The silence about the couch is the real Hollywood conspiracy. Mr. Roque, with his lamp the exact color of blue as we see in Club Silencio, is the face of the conspiracy. and his goons spend the entire movie trying to silence the problem. Betty begins to shake because this naive, innocent version of Diane is disappearing. The Conspiracy of Silence is an exclusive club, and Diane has just been inducted. The blue box symbolizes the prison of secrecy that the Hollywood studio system has created, and Diane already has the key to unlock it. Betty disappears completely to signify that the part of Diane that believed in the Hollywood dream is completely gone. The new Diane, who is now a Camilla Rhodes, disappears into the darkness inside the blue box prison of secrecy. David Lynch clue number 10. Where is Aunt Ruth? She's a Golden Age actress, off making movies in the Hollywood dream.
She's letting me stay here while she's working on a movie that's being made in Canada.
When Diane came to Hollywood and learned the truth, she left her ideal back in the past in Canada, and there it will stay in the Hollywood dream, waiting for the next dreamer. Aunt Ruth comes home to find nothing amiss. Now, where did the key to the box come from? David Lynch clue number 5. Who gives a key and why? When Camilla shows Diane the shortcut, we see that they're using the back entrance to the party. So when an actress makes the decision to prostitute herself for a role, that's the key to the back entrance of Hollywood. This is what we see in the diner at the end of the film.
This is the girl.
When Diane shows Camilla's headshot to Joe, she's not saying, "This is the girl I want you to kill." She's saying, "This is the girl I want to be. So much that I'll do anything," because she's so in love with her dream.
You sure you want this?
More than anything in this world.
And we know Joe can make that happen because we saw earlier that Joe is a pimp. He's the one who can give Diane that key to the back entrance. But Joe isn't just a pimp or a hitman, or even just one of Mr. Roke's goons. Diane says she was able to move to Hollywood using her aunt's inheritance money. If we reason that she didn't make her casting couch decision until she got desperate for money, as is suggested by her agreement to keep quiet about Camilla's money, then what we're looking at here is a representation of Diane dumping her inheritance into her Hollywood dream until she gets desperate.
Okay, once you hand that over to me, it's a done deal.
So Joe is the real-world equivalent of the cowboy. The cowboy is the Golden Age Hollywood dream, and Joe is the sleazy reality of Hollywood. And now we can fully interpret the botched hit job scene. First, notice that Joe has heterochromia and a Union Jack t-shirt, a reference to British rock star and friend of Lynch, David Bowie. Remember that recorded music represents the magic of Hollywood, and Joe himself represents the dark side of that magic. And do you think it's intentional or just a coincidence that Bowie had similar opinions to Lynch about the darkness of Los Angeles? Second, what is Joe's objective here? He wants to kill Ed to get Ed's famous black book.
Hey, so that's Ed's famous black book.
A little black book is a term used to describe an address book where one keeps the contact details of their lovers. Joe is trying to get Ed's book of call girls. Who is Ed that he should have such a book? If we look behind him, we can see a telescope used for star searching and a whole lot of keys that he might give to young actresses who want access to Hollywood's back entrance. Ed is a casting agent. At the beginning of the scene, Ed is telling Joe a story about a car accident.
An accident like that, who could have foreseen that, man? It's unreal, right? Yeah.
If a car accident symbolizes an actress's choice to use the casting couch, then this is a casting agent who can't keep his mouth shut.
Gee, I hope you're not going to get into any trouble.
Oh, that was just a thing, man. But that story, that made you laugh, right? F***ing car accident.
So Hollywood silences him. And then there's this weird shot of Ed's hair sticking out that I can only describe as a visual pun. The blood droplets on the end of the hair look like holly berries on the end of a branch. This is Hollywood.
What's that? Oh, yeah. That's the Hollywood. Oh, yeah. That's the Hollywood, all right.
But Hollywood was never very good at keeping the casting couch secret, even before recent developments. So this silencing job is incompetent and involves quite a bit of collateral damage. The woman Joe accidentally shoots next door sells some kind of health supplement that deals with free radicals and antioxidants. Those who know David Lynch know that he's obsessed with the idea of balance.
Balance is the key. Balance is the key to many things.
We need a proper balance of free radicals and antioxidants in our bodies to maintain good health. The silencing of the casting couch conspiracy has upset the balance in Hollywood. Although from the look of this woman and the junk food all over her office, we can see that Hollywood wasn't all that healthy to begin with.
When eating too much, the proper balance is disturbed and ill health follows.
The conspiracy has also silenced anyone who might be able to clean up the mess. Although from the look of these offices, the cleanup crew didn't seem to be doing its job in the first place. We already got a whiff of that from the detectives at the beginning, who seemed less than interested in investigating the problem.
Could be someone's missing, maybe.
So, Hollywood gets away with the evidence through the fire escape, leaving a fire alarm going off in the building. Fire is a David Lynch regular that symbolizes violence or evil. Back to Diane's deal with Joe. This deal had to happen in the diner for two reasons. This is more than likely the diner where Diane worked as a waitress until she made her desperate decision, which makes the diner the scene of Diane's accident.
Sorry about that.
But more importantly, the Winkies on Sunset Boulevard was shown earlier in the film to be another analog to Hollywood, a bright, sunny gathering place for film industry people that has an evil lurking behind it. Okay, here's the deal. Denny's restaurant on Sunset used to be a place called the Copper Penny. It was right at Gower and Sunset. I think that's where Frank Capra worked, and in the old days, that was the corner where all the movie extras would line up for work in the morning. That Denny's is located directly across the street from Sunset Gower Studios. That's where famous director Frank Capra made several films. And the Denny's there was a pretty strange Denny's. I'm not positive, but I think there was a satanic booth in the parking lot there for a while. What's that? I don't know! But I used to go there and have breakfast. A grand slam. Anyway, I was in a booth, and I think I was alone, and behind me there were three people, and they were talking about God. It sounded like quite a pleasant Sunday morning conversation. And I got up to pay the check, and I glanced over at the people in the booth, and there was the head of the Satanic Church in the booth. They were talking quite friendly and nice. I thought it was like a church group. And so it was kind of strange. Anyway, there were some kind of heavy feelings at that Denny's, and that fed into this thing in Mulholland Drive, this bum. David Lynch clue number 9. Note the occurrences surrounding the man behind Winkies. Lynch's heavy feelings about the Denny's on Sunset mingle with Diane's story of waitressing and her desperation to become the most famous scene in the film. Diane sees the dreamer from the Winkies' dream at the exact moment she makes her deal with the devil. But more importantly, he sees her making the deal. He is another actor, or maybe a writer or director, who came to Hollywood with a dream of making it big.
I had a dream about this place.
He sees the truth, and the truth stares back at him.
I just wanted to come here.
To Winkies?
This Winkies.
He wanted to come to this Winkies because this is the Sunset Boulevard Hollywood Dream Winkies. But when he got to Hollywood, he had a suspicion about the evil casting couch conspiracy, which he began to see behind the facade.
There's a man in back of this place. He's the one who's doing it. I can see him through the wall. I can see his face.
When he goes to find out the truth, he sees a couple of things that appear to confirm his suspicions, things that Lynch was careful to focus on. A payphone, because casting couch actresses are Hollywood call girls, and the back entrance to the Winkies, because the casting couch is the back entrance to Hollywood stardom. These lead him to the realization of evil in Hollywood, which kills his Hollywood dream.
It's the second one I've had, but they're both the same.
He had 2 Hollywood dreams. The first is the naive dream, similar to Diane's, and the second is the nightmare that begins when he wakes up, when the naive part of him is killed off.
Hey, pretty girl. Time to wake up.
The cowboy tells Adam Kesher he'll see the cowboy 1 more time if he does good, 2 more times if he does bad.
1 more time if you do good, 2 more times if you do bad.
If he follows the instructions, he'll have a successful movie with a successful lead actress and achieve his Hollywood dreams. If he doesn't, his Hollywood dream will come back to say goodbye and wake him up to the real Hollywood, like the cowboy does for Diane when she learns the truth. But what we're seeing at the end of the film is not really reality. It's a dreamy, symbolic representation of the reality. The real-life apartments where these final scenes were shot are a Hollywood historical landmark known as the Snow White Cottages, built by Walt Disney Company employees in the 1930s to look like they're straight out of a fairy tale.
I think art directors designed all of them. They would look sort of Disney-esque. I remember painting that one blue just to make it a little more depressing. David had enriched a lot of the colors, so they were even more intense or more saturated than what they actually were.
The Sunset Boulevard dream home was always just a fairy tale. Diane is now living in the blue prison of silence about the casting couch, trapped inside the blue walls of secrecy, unable to leave, hiding from both judgment and justice.
Oh, by the way, those 2 detectives came by again looking for you.
But this isn't really Diane. I don't think we ever see the real Diane Selwyn in this film. All we ever see is a naive part of her that believes in the dream and a knowing part of her that has undergone the trauma of the couch. This Diane is the first part that's still naively trying to believe in the dream, but is slowly dying. She might have slept her way into the pictures like the blonde Camilla, but at some point, the casting couch stopped working for Diane.
We shouldn't do this anymore.
Don't say that.
But did it reject her, or did she reject it? I'm sure both are true on some level.
Oh, sure. You want me to make this easy for you. It's not easy for me!
But she can't make it on her own. The infamous self-love scene shows us that much, which is why she answered the casting call in the first place. And now, there's a small part of her that still thinks the couch is a viable, horrific option.
You've come back.
David Lynch clue number 6. Notice the robe, the ashtray, the coffee cup. The coffee cup is an easy one. Coffee symbolizes that she's awake now, she's not dreaming anymore, and she's suffering, crying out for help. Her espresso cup says SOS. The dream version of Adam Kesher is drinking coffee. He had quite a rude awakening to the conspiracy.
There is no way that girl is in my movie!
The people who are still living the dream don't want to wake up. Luigi spits out his espresso, and Joe refuses coffee altogether.
I'm fine.
The robe is a little more ambiguous, but not much. Which robe are we talking about? This one? This one here? How about this one? You might wear a robe after you wake up in the morning, but you also might wear one post-busy time. The ashtray, though, that one's extra important because the ashtray is how we know that the real Diane does not die at the end of this film. Which ashtray are we talking about? The one next to the red lampshade? No. It's the one on Diane's coffee table, the grand piano ashtray. Music is the magic of Hollywood, and this ashtray symbolizes the ash dump of the real Hollywood dream. Just after Diane wakes up, the woman in apartment number 12, Diane's supposed real-life ex-girlfriend, comes by and takes this ashtray away.
That's my ashtray. Take it.
Lynch zooms in to show us the key, but more importantly, to show us the missing ashtray. You'll notice that it suddenly reappears, and the coffee cup disappears, when Diane imagines that she can still achieve her dream by getting the couch working for her again. So who is the woman that takes away Diane's dream? When Betty and Camilla go to search for Diane Selwyn's apartment, they find this woman living there instead.
Diane?
Number 17.
But it said number 12.
I switched apartments with her.
Why include this bizarre detail that Diane switched apartments with her ex? Well, in the Hollywood dream, the part of Diane that is blonde and naive disappears when her identity is swapped with that of her brunette supposed girlfriend. So why shouldn't this also be true after Diane wakes up? This is the part of Diane that is blonde and naive, and this is the new brunette, jaded Diane Selwyn, who moved into Diane's fairy tale after the couch. She recognizes Camilla for what she is, because she's looking in the mirror. She takes the ash heap of a dream from Diane because she's the one living it after leaving the old, naive part of herself to die off.
That's my ashtray. Take it.
So it's not Diane Selwyn who dies at the end of the film, but just the part of Diane that believed in the magic of Hollywood. The suicide is actually a parallel to the ending of Sunset Boulevard.
The dream she had clung to so desperately had enfolded her.
The judges of the Jitterbug contest that inspired Diane's Hollywood dream come back to terrorize her into ending it. Ironically, none of this would ever have happened had she not loved her dream so much that she was willing to do anything to achieve it, even something that would erase it. Diane's dream, like the dreams of so many before her, kills itself in a blue smokescreen of oppressive silence. The dream she had clung to so desperately had unfolded her.
There is a thing that is happening. You know, there's the surface, and then there's things beneath the surface. And one of the things I've noticed is all these things that are coming to light these days have been going on for a long time. But now these things are getting exposed.
But you were one of the first.
Well,
a long time ago.
Came with the ideas.
And since you mentioned things that are getting exposed, may I ask you about your perspective of current developments in Hollywood and around Hollywood? The scandal after scandal, almost every day we're waking up with...
Today I find out Charlie Rose has got it going.
Yes.
Charlie Rose. Incredible. What
do you think of this process?
Just like everybody else, it's been going on, and Harvey Weinstein started this avalanche of exposing wrong behavior, and you know, many have been caught up in this avalanche.
For more Twin Perfect, press the subscribe button. To support us, use the Patreon link. Consider leaving a like and a comment. It helps the channel ever so much. Thanks.